Hi, hello. Welcome to the episode of Isaiah's Newsstand. It's your host, Isaiah Edwards. The date is October the 11th, 2024. Hopefully, this episode finds you well, in good spirits, and high hopes. As for me, I'm doing pretty good. Happy Friday. Happy Friday to ya. Let's see. Work went well. It was solid. It was good. No complaints. After work, we did some gym time. It was really nice. I think I had like it feels like today was like maybe the workout day of the week for me, where I was just able to get in all the equipment that I wanted to get in. I hit it hard. I think I made like a personal best on my leg press. I'm feeling really good. So vibes are nice. They're tight. Let's see. I had also a good food corner to boot last night. Let's talk about it. I made and let me say this. I made the best out of a bad situation, right? Because I open up my fridge and I realized I made the boneheaded move. Shame on past Isaiah. Throw him in Tomato Town. Let him go because we didn't buy the hot dog buns. I needed hot dog buns for yesterday and I was just plumb out of them. None of them. And I was about to just like make some hobo dogs, with just like, a piece of bread, make it happen. Wouldn't be my first time. Probably wouldn't be my last time for sure. But I was like, you know what? I looked in the freezer real quick and I was like, yes, we still have these fish patties. So I decided that I was going to make a burger, a fish sandwich, and some fries. And I got to say, bangerang idea. It worked out just fine. I made I would call these deluxes. And I mean deluxe in the sense of like Chick-fil-A does deluxe. So it's like, oh yeah, we slapped on some lettuce and tomato. And then I added like bacon on top of that. So, which I have to add, bacon on a fish sandwich? Yes, I know. Pretty crazy. Pretty wild. Some would say you don't need to do that. And you know what? I would agree with you. As I was eating it, just giving a little bit of food review, I know I'm kind of going into gourmand mode, but like it was a very noisy sandwich. And I don't mean like, oh, it had like a good crunch. I wish that'd be nice. I like that. It's kind of giving ASMR. But like it was noisy in the sense of like good jazz, I guess, but like still you got to call it a little bit all over the place. Like why is this bacon on this sandwich? It just doesn't make sense. But in Isaiah's kitchen, it did, and it was fine. And it was good. And not just fine, it was good. I had, like I said, bacon, lettuce, tomato. I added capers to both sandwiches because I was not playing around. And yeah, it was nice. It was good. I remember just eating it and being like, yeah, this is hitting the way I wanted it to hit. The fries were good. They were seasoned. They were nice. So yeah, patting myself on the back. That was a good one. Let's see here. I put some onions on them too. Was it some white onion? Yeah, that hit the spot. I always try to switch it up. Sometimes I'll do two onions, red and white, because I really do love a good onion. But I realized, like, on the fish sandwich, I was, like, running out of capacity because I cannot cut tomatoes for shit. So they're just, like, the chunkiest globs on these sandwiches. But, we made it work. It was good. Let's see. All right, we've done blogged. We've talked about the food. I don't know if I said this yet, but happy Friday. Happy Friday to you. Hopefully that energy carries. Hopefully you find that vibe. If you're listening to this on Friday night, awesome. That means you're just right here. You're at the gate waiting. I love that. If you're listening to this on a Saturday or another day, hopefully you get that Friday feeling on whatever day you're listening to. So there you go. All right. Speaking of good vibes, let's go ahead and do our startup and we'll get into some news. Oh, yeah. Now we're cooking, baby. All right. I got a couple of quick updates I wanted to run through. From ABC News, how two elite Navy SEALs drowned in plain sight in anti-terror mission. Now, maybe you might be familiar with this, but two U.S. Navy SEALs drowned during a nighttime boat raid off the coast of Somalia last January because their personal gear was too heavy, causing them to sink almost immediately upon hitting the water, according to the results of a military investigation released Friday. So essentially, they were investigating this boat. I believe it's called like a Dow, for Iranian weapons, like missiles, stuff like that. I don't know, maybe not missiles, weapons, just weapons in general, right? Ammunition. I don't fucking know exactly, but they they pull this shit over and they hook onto it, right? Like, and they say, okay, it's recorded. It was a perfect hook. But it's also recorded that not every one of the SEALs took that route up. They also, I think, like took an alternative, like, I don't even want to call it like a raw climb. I don't know what the actual climb is or whatever. But essentially, they kind of hit that shit natty. And one of the guys fell, and the other guy went to save him. And that's more or less all we knew. At least that's all my dumbass knew. And I was like, okay, all right, that's kind of the story as we know it. But now we know at least a little bit more detail. Like, one that I felt like a really important detail was that everything was going perfectly fine and normal on this raid. There wasn't any kind of like violent interaction or anything like that caused this man to slip or anything of that nature. Actually, what killed him and what probably killed the other SEAL, which I'll get to the names in a second, was the fact that their packs, like their loadout, was too heavy. And even though they had a means of like putting up this, like, I think a flotation device that like offsets, I think like 80 pounds or something to that effect. I might be getting that wrong, but that was found intact, but not on the person. So maybe there was some kind of malfunction, fuck up. We don't know. But yeah, the two SEALs were identified as Nathan Gage Ingram, 27, who was posthumously promoted to Special Warfare Operator First Class, and Christopher Chambers, who was posthumously promoted to the rank of Chief Special Warfare Operator. So just wanted to kind of shed a little bit more light on that. There are obviously more details in this article if you wanted to read them. But yeah, just I always think more insight is good. And I think just knowing a little bit more about what happened that night is insightful. So there you go. And I mean, shit, I'll throw it out there. Condolences and shit. You know what I mean? Though I maybe this is just me being extra, but I really do feel like something like this could have came out sooner. But maybe once again, this is just my dumbass maybe just missing the news, and maybe this was something that if you just did a little bit more research, you would have known, Isaiah. But who knows? Whatever. Here we are. Another update. I literally caught this like right after I went off and like finished dinner and stuff. But from PBS News, 12 rescued after deadly elevator malfunction in former Colorado gold mine. So this is an update on the Molly Kathleen gold mine that we talked about yesterday. Everyone was rescued, so that's good. Like I said, I kind of thought that was going to go down that way. I just didn't want to pre-sell it and be fucking wrong. That'd be terrible. So glad that everything worked out okay there. Not too much details in terms of like what caused the malfunction, like how that person died, the one victim. But there you go. Let's see here. Was there anything else we really wanted to cover? No, we don't have to talk about Sheriff Jason Mikesell again and those goddamn chips. Anyway, moving on to the next beat. From CBS News, Ukrainian reporter Victoria Roshchyna, I'm going to say Roshchyna because I like that, but I'm sure I'm pronouncing it wrong, dies in Russian detention, officials say. A Ukrainian journalist who was captured by Moscow while reporting from occupied East Ukraine has died in Russian detention, a Ukrainian official said Thursday. Excuse me. Victoria Roshchyna, who would have turned 28 this month, disappeared in August last year after traveling to Russian-held East Ukraine for a report. She remained missing until April of 2024, when her father received a letter from Moscow's defense ministry saying she was being held in Russian detention, according to Ukraine's main journalist union. The circumstances of her arrest were not made public, and it was not clear where she was being held inside Russia. Unfortunately, information about Victoria's death has been confirmed, said Petro Yatsenko, a spokesperson for Ukraine's Prison of War Coordination Headquarters on Thursday. I feel like that's something that could use an acronym. I don't know. Anyway, scrolling ahead. It is too early to talk about the circumstances of the death. We are working to establish them, he added. Let's see. So yeah, I mean, this is a pretty unfortunate situation. You know, like obviously when these things can go down, you want it to go like Evan Gershowitz, where it's like, yeah, this is fucked up, but hopefully they get home at the end of the trial and conviction and all that bullshit. Whereas in this situation, it looks like it's more like Alexei Navalny, where it's like, yeah, they die of some kind of mysterious, you know, circumstances that we really don't ever get the full details on, you know, and it's just really sad. It's really fucking unfortunate. Because it definitely is one of those things where it's like, yeah, it definitely seems like this person wasn't like an agent or some kind of fucking super spy or something. They were just trying to do their journalistic due diligence. You know what I mean? And while I've said before, look, you can call me coward or whatever, you would not catch me doing that shit, man. I love me some journalism and shit. I love me some news and print, but like, I ain't putting my life on the line for this. Because go look up a journalist salary. You will not be impressed. You will not think, yeah, I would lay my life down potentially for this money. No. So it's like, you're definitely doing it for the love of the goddamn game because you believe that this shit matters and you believe that these stories need to be told. So like, the fact that Roshchyna went through these links multiple times to the point where, yes, it finally like became a thing that winds up devouring her because like Russia's like, yeah, no, we got you. That's crazy. It's very, once again, it's very sad. And this is a random aside, but like I listen to, what is it, The Daily, and they'll have like these things that are trying to pitch you to like, hey, you should subscribe to, you know, the New York Times today. And like one of the more recent ones I listened to was someone who is doing journalism in Russia. And I'm like, yeah, man, you couldn't pay me $1 million to play man on the street in Russia right now. As a foreign journalist, there's no fucking shot. You just couldn't pay me enough money, bro. I wouldn't do it. And like, I'm down to sell out. You feel me? I'm down to get down and dirty for it. But like, that seems like a death sentence. I ain't even gonna lie to you. You know, but yeah, that being said, condolences to the family, you know, once again to, you know, Roshchyna herself, and, you know, definitely salute because she put it all on the line. You know what I mean? Multiple times. So, you know, for that, we say hell yeah. But yeah, let's go ahead and move on to the next beat. This is a random aside. I'm kind of just talking about what I'm seeing on my screen right now. We got the 60-minute interview with Kamala Harris right now. I know I mentioned this, but she has been like a big press tip. I think she hit up a couple of podcasts. She's on her fucking Donald Trump shit right now. The biggest one was probably Call Her Daddy. I think she also went like on a black centric focused podcast. I wish I had the name of it, but I don't off the top of my head. So I mean, yeah, there's that, but Trump, you could say, countered by going on at least one or two. I think he went on a podcast with like Andrew Schultz or some shit like that. So that's the thing that happened there. Everybody was yapping it up. Also, I know Kamala went on The View as well. So there you go. You know, she's you know, yakking it up with the girl bossing, you know, girl talking. But yeah, I don't know. That's a little bit of a random politics news campaign watch. I don't know. Whatever. Let's see here. But let's moving along. Let's talk about some TikTok. Let's talk about some social media. Shoshmead. No one ever said Shoshmead. I feel like I saw that as an accurate, like a little abbreviation one time, and I was just like, Shoshmead, huh? That's fun. Anyway, from CNN. TikTok sued by 14 attorneys. I always hate saying this. TikTok sued by 14 attorneys general over alleged harm to children's mental health. So yeah, we are back on the TikTok hate watch. Let's go. A bipartisan group of 14 attorneys general from across the country filed lawsuits on Tuesday against TikTok, alleging that the platform has addicted young people and harmed their mental health. The lawsuits take issue with various elements of the TikTok platform, including its endlessly scrolling feed of content, TikTok challenge videos that sometimes encourage users to engage in risky behavior, and late night push notifications that the attorneys general claim can disrupt kids' sleep. There are some parts of this that I'm going to say and feel are reaching. There are other parts where I would also say, yeah, TikTok is kind of the worst at this. And just kind of kicking it off, just thinking about the notifications. I hate TikTok notifications with a fucking fiery passion, okay? Because you have to go out of your way to disable them, and like a zombie, they will try so hard to crawl up and get into your push notification feed. That alone is very annoying to me and very just like, ugh, it gives me big ick. But that being said, there's a challenge they reference where apparently there was a Subway Surfer challenge, and I'm going to go on a little bit of a side here to explain what Subway Surfers is to the best of my knowledge, because I'm not a Subway Surfer enjoyer. I've only seen clips to kind of make it make sense for me. But essentially it's this game where you're like it's almost like a temple run style situation, but you're a little guy and you're hopping from like train car to train car to train car, and you're just kind of jumping around. And people use Subway Surfer to kind of like say, hey, I want you to like pay attention to me, like Zoomer, ADHD brain kid or whatever person, who's brain rotted. Watch this train surfer thing and then listen to me by osmosis. It's essentially like kind of the memes, kind of like the little joke. But apparently there was a Subway Surfer challenge, right? And I guess this kid was like, I'm going to actually, in real life, surf on subways. I'm going to do it. And this kid winds up dying. And essentially, I guess TikTok is to blame here, but like, I don't know, man. Like, that's kind of where I go. I feel like it's a bit overborne, because if this isn't going to happen on TikTok, it's going to happen somewhere else on another fucking app, right? Like, that's my vibe. That's my feeling on this subject. I can understand how it's like, hey, we would like to see TikTok do more regulation, but I do feel like TikTok is trying to do more. You see the same kind of thing with like Instagram. They're trying to like push this teen mode thing, and they got it in like every fucking ad, and it's like, look, dude, I get it. You're trying to help the fucking kids, but I understand why they're doing that, because they're getting pushed back from the government. But all this shit feels very limp-wristed. It feels like you're doing this to kind of get points with like your constituents back at home or whatever, because you're saying, hey, we're cracking down on the social media thing that's fucking up your kids. When really it's like, man, you kind of have to like do either like some kind of wholesale regulation on the internet itself, and then you're starting to look like China. Oh, big bad communist China. I don't think anybody wants that. Or you say, hey, maybe you look at the kids, or not the kids, I'm sorry, you look at the parents, and it's like, hey, this is your kid. Like, maybe you kind of got to like be on that shit. And I hate to do that, because I feel like that is I was like, oh, it's a parent's fault. Like, it's hard. I get it. I'm a person who has no children, zero of them. That's how I'm able to podcast every day. I have this freedom. I have this power. Okay. But I can understand how it is overwhelming as hell to live a life, make ends meet, and do it with a family on your back. Yeah, and I'm saying that, I'm sure it's not a burden. It's a love, whatever. But at the end of the day, I can understand how it's like, look, dude, I'm just gonna throw you a tablet and I'm gonna let you watch Cocomelon or whatever. Just don't scream, don't cry. Just wait until I get your Dino Nuggets. I get that. You know what I mean? I get that it's hard, but I don't think that it's fair for people to kind of do that, and or like, okay, you do the best you can. You even set regulations, but it's like, okay, like kids are going to succumb to peer pressure. You know what I mean? That's going to be a thing. It's going to be an issue that can potentially happen. Do we then turn around and say it's actually this specific social media thing? Like, that's the thing at play here? But I do think that TikTok is trying to do its best to play ball, which is something that we've talked about this before. But like with Telegram, they kind of aren't doing, and that's why, you got the Pavlov guy getting arrested in France or whatever, because essentially you got terrorists just freeballing, freestyling on that motherfucker. You know what I mean? No regulation, no nothing. And I think you're kind of getting the worst case scenarios out of that. But then you also see Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, or Meta, whatever. They're doing everything to abide, and they're still getting sued out of their fucking ass, and they're still getting called a communist China app if you're TikTok. We still got that whole fucking thing going in terms of them getting banned, potentially. Whether if they sell, then, they're going to be good. If they don't, then they're going to get banned. But I guess that's good for the American people somehow, because we got to protect each other. I'm getting in the weeds. I'm talking about communism again, or whatever, our beef with China that we're just kind of making issues out of nothing. But That being said, I know I just kind of riffed this all up. I'm not gonna lie, I pushed this story like throughout the week because I just didn't really want to talk about it. I'm kind of sick of talking about crucifying these social media apps when it's like, once again, I don't feel like they're the main culprit. Once again, I think you have to tackle the internet as a whole or you don't get anywhere here. And I don't even think, me personally, once again, guy, no kids. I'm 34 years old. I just want to have a good time on the internet and just tippity tappity type, type, type. I don't want you to do kind of shit with it. I kind of like the internet the way it is. Believe it or not, call me crazy and brain rotted. I kind of like this shit. I don't really want to see it shifted, but I get it. We got to kind of make maybe changes for the greater good, especially for the future. Children are our future, whatever. But I just think pointing fingers at individual social media apps saying you have to fix this so that our kids aren't corrupted. I think that's bullshit. I think that's vaporware to sell to parents to make them feel like, oh, well, the powers that be are really doing their job, so I guess I'll keep them in power type of a beat. When really, you're not really doing shit for that. But anyway, I know I talked a lot without actually really saying more than like a sentence from this article, but we're going to call it covered. By all means, feel free to read yourself. I always advise that. That's why I source these articles so that you can go and you can come back and tell me, hey, you actually got this wrong. Which, by all means, do that. You can, but hit me up, I would love for you to hit me up like personally, say, hey, da, da, da. I back in the day, I miss that. I miss back in the day, hey, love the episode, you did get this wrong. Hey, cool, correct it. But, I will take a public lashing, I guess. You know what I mean? If you got to do it, I guess you're going to do it. But, whatever. We have one more thing I wanted to cover, and then I'll let y'all go. We can get back to our Fridays or whatever days that we're on, and hopefully, back to some good vibes. I mean, hopefully the vibes are okay. I know we got kind of through some hardcore shit, but that's a day in the life, baby. Yeah, let's go ahead and take our last break, and we'll close it out. Ooh. Ooh. Ooh, 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 ooh. Also, if you're listening to this on TikTok, what up? Anyway, from CNBC, TD Bank pleads guilty in money laundering case, will pay $3 billion in penalties. Also, I believe that is Toronto Dominion Bank. By the Toronto, I'm sure you can allude that this is a big Canadian sensation. I believe they're in like the top 5 or maybe top 3 banks in Canada. It's in the top 10 in the US. So that's, I feel like, a big reason why we are talking about them doing the money laundering. But yeah, let's go ahead and dig in. Excuse me. TD Bank pleaded guilty Thursday to multiple criminal charges and agreed to pay a whopping $3 billion in fines and other penalties to the Department of Justice, or the DOJ, and financial regulators for failing to monitor money laundering by drug traffickers and other criminals. As part of the deal, TD Bank, whose U.S. unit is the 10th largest American bank by assets, will also have limits to its growth imposed by the Office of Comptroller of the Currency. The total assets of TD Bank's 2 U.S. banking subsidiaries will be barred from exceeding $434 billion under that restriction. The restrictions are similar to those imposed by the Federal Reserve on Wells Fargo in 2018 over what the Federal Reserve called widespread consumer abuses at the bank. By making its services convenient for criminals, TD Bank became one, said Attorney General Merrick Garland on Thursday. This is a random aside, but I've realized looking, every time I see a picture still of Merrick Garland, he never looks happy, which I get it. He's always got a lot of subject matter that's very heavy. It's very probably stressful and strenuous to deal with or whatever. And, not to mention you got to talk on stage to the American people, but he just always looks like sad Kermit the Frog. I always look at this man and I feel like, not pity, because you're the fucking Attorney General of the DOJ. Nah, if anything, you could probably go to Tomato Town. But That being said, I was like, man, he just never seems like there's just no joy in those eyes. Maybe off camera, who knows? But let's get back to TD. Um, Today, TD Bank also became the largest bank in U.S. history to plead guilty to Bank Secrecy Act program failures, and the first U.S. bank in history to plead guilty to conspiracy to commit money laundering, Garland said. TD Bank chose profits over compliance with the law, a decision that is now costing the bank billions of dollars in penalties. Let me be clear. Our investigation continues, and no individual involved in TD Bank's illegal conduct is off limits. I do feel like that last part of the quote is important because I really do feel like Warren says this towards the end of the article or whatever, but like feeding a bank isn't a like actual punishment. Like it really kind of isn't. You're just like slapping them on the wrist, fucking point blank, period. The idea that maybe though you are going to actually get some individuals, because I want to try to get into it, read a little bit more quotes. These motherfuckers knew what was happening. It was so blatant what was happening here that they're like, dog, we're involved in money laundering. We should do something about it. And essentially, the other people at top is like, oh, we know, stupid. Like tongue out emoji. Like, it was very understood and laissez-faire, whatever, about it, because they were worrying about a bottom line. They were worried about making profits. Essentially, there's supposed to be money laundering protection, and you're supposed to be updating this as time goes. And essentially, TD Bank did not do that. They just sat on it. And it got so bad that criminal enterprises were just saying, oh, we can just set up shop here. And it got so bad where you have moments where you have the leaders of this shit. And I would say the best place to maybe get some more details out of this, if you want to like hear a good like story form of this, better than I could tell it, was from the Journal I was listening today. But essentially, there was a guy who was, I think, maybe from like the Chinese money laundering end. There was like, once again, multiple criminal organizations like getting involved here, kind of just like just moving money. But essentially, he was just like running ops out of here. And you have situations where it's like, what do we do? And it's like, we do our jobs. We fucking move the money. And it's like, that's crazy because it's a big amount of money. And this is happening, once again, multiple times. And managers are aware of it. And essentially from the top down, they're saying, once again, we want to worry about our profits. We don't care about that. We're not gonna fucking stop any of it. So that's not good. That's not good economics. It's not good banking. You know what I mean? At least not ethically. I guess you can say it's great banking if you're just living in a capitalist society, right, with no rules, which kind of feels like that most days of the week. But it turns out, hey, sometimes we say, oh, we're going to get you. We're going to get you. And they get this money slap, Let me move ahead, though. I know I just kind of went into riff mode. Here we go. I wanted to read these quotes. Garland read reporters' details of electronic messages that showed the awareness and concerns bank employees had about suspicious transactions by one individual known as David, who personally moved more than $470 million in illicit funds through TD Bank branches in the United States. In August of 2021, a TD Bank store manager emailed another store manager and remarked, quote, "You guys really need to shut this down, LOL," Garland noted. In February 2021, one TD Bank store employee saw that David's network had purchased more than $1 million in official bank checks with cash in a single day, Garland said. I believe this is the Chinese organization that was making the money moves, if I'm not mistaken. I'm trying to, once again, link this to what I listened to the Journal before I went on. But the employee asked, quote, how is this not money laundering? So essentially, I don't know if I just read this, but yeah, in February 2021, TD Bank store employee saw that David's network had purchased more than $100 million in official bank checks with cash in a single day. Like, that's insane. That doesn't make any fucking sense for one guy to be doing those kind of moves. Like, you would flag that and stop that immediately, unless you know that's a whale. Like, you know what I mean? This is a big customer. And in fact, we're going to roll out the red carpet for this guy, actually. So yeah, I mean, and then just cherry on top here. The TD Bank employee responded, oh, it 100% is. So like once again, everyone is aware. This is very heads up. But like we gotta fucking tailor to the customer. We're not here to stop that. We're here to just do our job, essentially. And so that's the thing. Do I want to see like lesser employees put up for this shit? No, I really don't. Because at the end of the day, once again, they're just doing their fucking job. But like CEOs, top motherfuckers who are like running this shit, knowing what's happening and knowing that they're just making their fucking profit, I think they should be seeing some kind of trial, right? They should be seeing the inside of a courtroom, you know? But instead, we just have this plea agreement, you know? Hey, we'll settle up. We'll fucking cap our shit. We can't grow, you know? I mean, hey, that's like capital in a capitalist society. That is hard punishment, right? I guess. I don't fucking know. I really feel like I'm just devil's advocating this shit for real. But yeah, I mean, it is what it is. I did find this interesting. I heard it a couple times, the story a bit. So I was like, yeah, let's go ahead and yap about it for a little bit. We'll go ahead and call it covered. Yeah, I'm good. I'm good with it. I can leave it there. But yeah, that is the episode for today. Let's see. If you'd like to help out, support the effort, I do have a Patreon, patreon.com/IsaiahNews. Become a newsie today. Free ways to hit me up, IsaiahNews1@gmail.com. Feel free to follow me or the podcast on any of the socials you're on. Hopefully you subscribe to the YouTube. It really helps out a lot there. Hit the like button. Sharing is caring. Leave a cool comment, you know, if you're going to leave a comment, you're going to hit me up. Asking fun questions is great. Answering anything I ask on here is awesome. That's fun, but like I said, you can always hit me up on any of the socials directly. I have the Discord, what have you. But yeah, thanks so much for tuning in. Oh, I hit the mic. I'm sorry. Thanks so much for tuning in. Thanks so much for being a friend. And hopefully I see you soon for some more good news. I love ya. Bye-bye. Mwah.